Alright, hi kids. So we're going to be doing a bunch of stuff really quickly in UDK. We're going to be running through checkpoints, and then I'm going to run terrain, and then pressure plates and all the puzzle things can be used with triggers that I showed you in class today, but I'll go over those again. With Unreal Matinee and Kismet, you guys are going to have to do a little bit of scripting to do different events that take place. And then we'll go over that's pretty much what we'll cover in this video, and then I can help you individually in class tomorrow. Well, today. Alright, so let's open UDK. Alright, UDK is open, and we're going to run through some more stuff. I'm going to go File, New Level, Blank Map. We're going to go to Perspective Mode, and we're going to create some checkpoints. Alright, so the first thing we want to do is go to our non-uniform scaling, and I'm going to create like a long strip so we can talk about checkpoints, like it's a long distance I'm traversing. Press Control A to spawn geometry. I'll make this look a little bit nicer by alignment and going to box. Alright, so now that we have this long strip, we need some essentials that we went over in class today. So let's make a light mask volume. That should be fine. Put it right there. Be good. Alright, so what we're going to do is go to the whole map, and we're going to go right click on volumes, and we're going to go light mask importance volume. Now if I double click back on the brushes on the cube with left click, double click, it's going to go back to the same original size that I first started with. So I'm going to actually use this for a new volume that I'll be introducing to you kids called trigger volumes. These trigger volumes are essentially just like the triggers I showed you in class, except actually they're literally just like that. They're within that same area. So first thing I need to do before I create this trigger volume is a player start. Now we're going to click on the face, top face of the geometry that we just made. We're going to add actor. We're going to add a player start. Now it's good to note that this is another thing that we went over in class today. This arrow that you can see on screen is a bit finicky in terms of where you point it, but this one's pretty solid. So as you can see, the white arrow is pointing in the direction that I want the player to start in. So I want the player to be facing forward down this hallway or temple-ish area. I don't know. Anyways, so now that that has been created, what we want to do is now create some geometry to show you that I have passed a certain area. So we'll just take that and we'll non-uniform geometry, drag that up, and we're going to make a big pillar of sorts. I'm going to drag this over here, make another piece of geometry. Oh, that's the player start. Down the line. That will make it unique, and that'll be the goal. Alright, so the next step we need to do, we're going to double click on the brush tool again. I'm going to shrink back down, go back to the player start on my top viewport. Alright, so now we have, we need a light. Okay, so adding a light, add actor, add dominant directional, make this kind of shadowy looking so you know what distance we're at. Make it dark daytime. Doesn't really matter. Anyways, so next step we're going to do is to create the first checkpoint. Now the way we do that first is the same way we created a player start, and we're literally going to create another player start icon. Now the only difference between this one and the first one is that we're going to double click on it or press function F4 for its properties, and this will come up probably like this in your guys's. It'll come default player start 1 properties. We're going to go to player start, which is your first tab at the top. Now we need to disable it by uncheck boxing enabled. So we don't want that to be enabled at start. We don't want this one to be our player start when this over here below this red brush box is going to be our player start. So we want this player start to not be enabled, and we don't want it to be our primary start. So once that's done, we can take the red brush block that we used to create geometry and all the volumes. We're going to take that and we're going to kind of drag that. We're going to drag that over, and we are going to kind of expand it a little bit with non-uniform scaling. This is from the top view perspective, so we'll just create like a line, pretty much a gate, an invisible gate that you'll be able to pass through. So right now we're going to create a trigger volume, and the way you do that is by going up to volumes, just like you did in class, creating light mass, and we're going to go to trigger volume. And this is going to create a green box, and this will essentially be just exactly like a trigger like I showed you in class, and we'll go over those again later on. So what we're going to do now is create a second checkpoint all the way at the end. So what we're going to do is not I ran into some things today while going over this with myself, and if you duplicate the player start, if you say you click on this and you then control to select more and you select the trigger volume and you copy it over, it tends to get a little bit funky in Kismet, like so the coding, the visual scripting language. I don't do that, just create new ones each time. So let's drag this brush over to this checkpoint over here. You can see on the top. This is where we want. Alright, so we want the player to end up at these 2 pillars. This is kind of like our goal, our end. So what I'm going to do is add a trigger volume right here. Alright, so now that that's created, we need a player start still over here. And remember that player start, you need to go to the properties, function F4, and you want that to be not enabled and you don't want that to be primary start, so uncheck all those boxes. Now here comes the coding or scripting. So we are going to leave map, and then we're going to open Unreal Kismet. Now remember that Unreal Kismet's icon is right next to the content browsers. So this is the content browser and this is Kismet. So we're going to open Kismet. It's already open, but I'll open it just for sake. So open Kismet. Oh, down here. Anyways, alright. So now that Kismet is open, we have some objectives to do within Kismet. So we have to, 1, create an event using the trigger volumes for each checkpoint to trigger once you get within the trigger volumes area. So once I enter this box, or I collide with this invisible box, and let's say I die in between, I fall off the edge, then this is where I will start next time. Another quick thing to add, now that I bring this up, is a kill Z volume. Essentially, it's just a giant, let's go back into Unreal Editor for a couple seconds, and we will actually double click on the brush, non-uniform scaling. We'll make that kind of big. This is from top-down mode. It doesn't really matter what size and shape it is, as long as it's below your level. So this is our side view right up here, and we're going to put that below, and it's wide enough. This is our top view, and it's long enough. So okay, cool. So we've got a brush, and we need to make a kill Z volume. Same way we do volumes before. So right click and go to UT kill Z volume. And so what it's going to do is it's going to create a pinkish line outline, and that is where we will die if we fall off the edge. The volumes like this, like kill Z volume, can be useful in pits. So we can have a player jump over a gap, and if they die, this can be placed anywhere. Or if you go down a certain hallway and you touch it, you just die. And you can, I think you can attach it to objects too, but I'll see about that. So continuing on, so we've now created a kill box. We've created a bunch of things. Now we need this trigger volume to be activated once touched. I showed you a little bit of this in class, but we're going to go over it again right now. So now that we have this trigger volume selected with left click, we're going to right click in Kismet, so this window right here, I'm going to right click and we're going to go new event using trigger volume 0. Now we're going to go to touch, and you can also change the name of the trigger volume, so you can have that listed as checkpoint 1. So let's, what was that? Can't remember where it is right now. Not important. Anyways, alright, so we have trigger volume selected, and it's a visual representation of the trigger volume from the editor into Kismet, which is the scripting language. Now, what we want to do, since this is to be our player start area, using this player start icon, that's not this. So we want to go from this point to this point. And the way we do that is by toggling. So what we're going to do is go to New Action. So right click, New Action, scroll down all the way to the bottom. It's a third from the bottom, and we're going to go Toggle, Toggle. You're going to want to create 2 of these. Now what I'm doing right now, I'm moving it around. There's left click, which is move the whole Kismet thing around, and it doesn't move anything. Or I can select something with left click and then control, hold that down while left clicking, and it will move it in a nice area where you can actually organize it. So we're going to create another toggle. Right click, New Action, Toggle, Toggle. Now this is important to note that the importance of why there's 2 toggles. You need to turn one off, you need to turn one on once touched, and then turn the other one off so that they don't go back to the first one. So let's make sense of this by looking on screen. So this is our first point. This is where we start the game. And then we're going to walk, we're going to walk, we're going to walk, and then as soon as we pass this trigger volume, we want this to be our main checkpoint. So if we look at Kismet, once touched, this is trigger volume 1, using this one right here. This is our trigger volume 1, or trigger volume 0, and we want that once touched to turn on. Alright, so we need something to turn on. So we need this player start right here to turn on once you pass through this trigger. So you're going to right click in Kismet, and you're going to scroll down all the way to New Object Variable using player start 1. Now it'll say new object var, but var means variable. So we want that player start 1 to be the variable that it turns on. We want this one to become our checkpoint. And so that's going to be created by left clicking on it, control that If you control and drag that over with left click, and what we're going to do now, if I didn't say that before, I'll mention it one more time, is that these little nodes right here, when I select them with left click, a little line goes to it, and these are connector cords to make sure that things connect to each other. So my target should be my player start. This is the first checkpoint. So why is there this one then? So this goes from once this volume is touched in editor, I want this checkpoint to turn on. This is this checkpoint right here. Well, I want the other one before to turn off, and this to become my main respawn point if I should die or anything like that. So once this is done, once this toggle is done, we want this toggle, whatever this target might be, to turn off. We don't have that yet, so we need to go back into editor. We need to zoom over to this trigger, or this player start right now, and we want that one to shut off. So once this is selected, once your initial spawn point for the whole game is selected, you're going to go into Kismet, you're going to right click, new object variable using player start 0. And then you're going to control and make this look nice, drag the target connector cord to that, and you are all set. Now let's test that out to make sure it works. I got a light mask, I got a light, I got a player start. Another thing to note, this is for organization, I highly recommend it, is by selecting all of your checkpoint variables, so the trigger volume, the toggle, and the 2 player starts, which are your checkpoints. We want to select them all by holding down Control and left clicking on all of them individually. So I'm clicking, and now that everything is selected, I'm going to press C inside of Kismet, just the letter C, no function, no control, just C, and it's going to come up with this. It's a comment box, and it's lagging obviously since I'm running Unreal and a camera recording session. So we're going to name that checkpoint 1, and we're going to press enter. Okay, and it's going to create this box. This box is for you, for organization. So if you have tons of these later on when I stop teaching you and you go in for yourself, it's going to keep organization. Like, it's just a better way of doing things. So now that this is done, we can check out to see if this works. And we're going to minimize out of this. We're going to build all, should build the whole map and the AI paths. We'll wait until this actually loads. Running light mass. Alright. Trigger volume is not referenced anything. Ignore that for right now. That's trigger volume, this one. This one is trigger volume 0, trigger volume 1. It's not referenced yet because we haven't done the second checkpoint. So let's make sure that everything works in scene. Alright, so I am in my level. I'm just going over to this checkpoint right here, which should be right here. Excuse the lag. It is terrible. Alright, so we've just entered this trigger volume. And I think that's my mouse actually. I think it's the surface. Anyways, so I'm gonna die. And then like, I'm dead. And so we can space bar. I'm halfway across the map already. This is awesome. Oh man. Oh yeah, it's lagging like a storm. Alright, so I have just created checkpoint 1 for me. Now let's make checkpoint 2 really fast. Alright, so now that we have this selected, oh fun, yay, so this is already selected for us since I selected it before I started the game. So we're going to go back into Kismet and we're going to do the exact same things last time, except we're going to create another instance of this whole thing. So we need to make another checkpoint. So now that this is selected in the editor, we're going to right click, we're going to new event using trigger volume 1. We're going to make it touch. Control, move it over, create left, right click, and we're going to go into new action, toggle, new action, toggle, toggle, control, left click, drag it over. Then we're going to new action again, right click, toggle, left click, toggle to turn it on. And then we're going to go from touch to turn on, out to turn off, and then we're going to select this player start as our place where we're going to end up. So we want this to turn on, so we're going to make new object var using player start 2. We're going to make this our target, and then the one we want to turn off, because this one needs to be our new checkpoint, we're going to go back over here to our second checkpoint. We're going to click on that, and we're going to go into Kismet, right click, new object var using player start 1, and we're going to control that over. This target will become that, and then we're going to select all of them, control, hold that down while left clicking over everything in the Kismet so far, and we're going to press C, excuse me, and then we're going to name that checkpoint to enter. And this is the finicky part about Kismet comment boxes. They're kind of weird. Alright, so I'm going to hold control down while moving that. That should come into place, and that should be fine for right now. So we need to build everything again, to build the paths. So we're going to build all, and then we build this out and everything starts running. Let's see if we can end up at the end. So we're going to pass this one, and we're going to jump for joy, and we're going to pass this volume, and we're going to, once we do, we're going to die, and press spacebar to respawn, and then we're going to go over here. We're almost at the goal, we're almost at the goal, we're almost at the goal. Here we go. I've passed through the volume, and now let's see if I respawn right at the end. I'm at the end, guys. Alright, that's it for checkpoints, and I'm going to post another video of terrain and pressure plates and other stuff in a second. Alright, that's it.